Salutations! Welcome to Loving the Language of Literacy. My name is Sophia Lee, and today I'm doing episode 2 of A Progression in Playwriting. If you are brand new to the series known as A Progression in Playwriting, you may not know this, but I am doing a weekly writing class, and this will be going on for the next 7 weeks after this video. And I'm just going to recap what happened in writing class, share a few tips of what I learned, and maybe even read what I wrote for that week. This week was absolutely amazing. In my first episode, I raved on and on and on about how it felt so good to find people that were like me and that they were just all loved writing and they were all writers. But this one was even better because there was more of a focus on the actual classes and we did not spend forever on introductions. Today's lesson was about creating characters and developing monologues and just the whole process of formulating someone and who they are and giving the audience as much information as possible in the least amount of time. To do this, my teacher told me that the speech patterns are really important, where you placed repetition, where you punctuated words. For example, there's a famous playwright, she puts a lot of periods in the middle of her sentences. For example, it would be, I like, period, fruit punch, period. And as an actor, you would have no idea exactly where the playwright wanted you to pause the sentence, so that's really interesting to see how that can alter the whole feel and emotion conveyed with a certain scene. And repetition, if used well, is a very good device while playwriting. Another very interesting thing Kim, that's the instructor, brought up was that who do you want to know your character? What you would think is that the character can only interact with the other characters in this play, with objects, with things that are happening, but never actually with the audience. But there's this technique called breaking the fourth wall, and I believe it comes from how a stage has stage left, stage right, and then upstage, and then downstage, where the audience usually is what you would call a fourth wall. And if you break through the fourth wall, that means that you're actually talking to the audience. Most likely the actor is alone, so they're actually talking to the audience and giving information to them, which helps a lot of the time when the actor is trying to convey a stronger connection and bond with the audience. Another thing extremely interesting that I learned about today was how important perspective and context in a certain scene were to both the reader and the actors, because we read this scene from the play The Laramie Project by, I have no idea how to pronounce this and my teacher didn't either, but it was Moises Kaufman? I'm gonna say it's that. And the main character had a monologue about his son's murder, but you wouldn't have known it was about his son's murder or even that he was necessarily sad about his son's murder if you hadn't read the narrator's background that they give to the actual scene itself. This is a technique that some playwrights use because it doesn't waste any time in terms of trying to explain and give more exposition and backstory to certain characters and events that are going on, but instead the narrator fills in their little bit and then the actor can jump straight into everything. And this helps because it doesn't waste time by trying to provide exposition and backstory, such as, hi, my name is Kelly, I'm from Connecticut, I'm 12 years old, and I'm a student at Redwood Elementary. That was completely and totally random. Lastly, we learned, which is mostly exclusive to playwriting, that the characters' dynamics with each other help a lot when creating conflict, because we get the added benefit of seeing whatever scene there is portrayed in front of our very eyes, so we get instant feedback and instant establishment of which character doesn't like this character based on their body language and intonations and fluctuations and whatever they're saying. As a class, we read 4 different scenes from various plays, and those plays were A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams, which was a very fun scene to read because there was this sexist jerk and then this very accommodating, emotional young woman, and her sister was married to that jerk. And then we did a scene from Our Town by Thornton Wilder, and it was a monologue about this character named Mrs. Webb giving her daughter up for marriage. And then there was The Laramie Project, which was based on the murder trial of his son and the testaments given because of it. And lastly was my favorite scene, mostly because I'm probably a psychopath, Night Mother by Marcia Norman. And the entire play is only between two characters in basically one scene about a daughter discussing with her mother her plans for suicide. So there was quite a range, and it seemed extremely serious, but the dark tone influenced everyone's scenes today that we wrote in class. After this, the main assignment we did for the day was these character cards using 6 major points for characters, and those are name, age, location, occupation, desire, and fear. And we wrote them all down thinking that we were going to do a monologue or confrontational scene with our own characters that we made up. But then while everyone else was still writing, I guessed that we probably would have to switch cards, and I was right. This was so much fun, and it added this whole new kind of plot twist to the class for the day. My card that I wrote to give to someone else was about a 16-year-old girl named Lexicon Hunt who is in a laboratory and serves as this kind of human experiment, and her greatest desire is to get out of the lab and to escape the experiments, but her greatest fear was failure and letting people down, which obviously conflicted with the fact that she wanted to get the hell out of the lab. The card I actually got was about a 72-year-old crawfish salesman named Maurice who all his life only wanted to own a boat, and his greatest fear was that his wife would be taken away from him. And they were in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Besides this, there were a bunch of interesting scenes read, including one about an arsonist farmer. One was about a teenage boy who wanted to commit suicide because of how bad his life was, and another was about a bisexual main character named Sarah who was in love with her best friend Allie. So these were extremely interesting to see written, especially because it was as if all these scenes were co-authored, because there was of course the person who wrote out the actual card and basically determined the premise of the story, but then there was the person who actually wrote and interpreted that card as their own. So that was extremely interesting. Right now I am going to do something that I wish I had done the very first class session, but it has taken me until the 3rd week to do, and that is share with you something that I wrote in class. Something that I was told from feedback, because we always do feedback after reading the actual scene, was that this character was extremely erratic and kind of mentally unstable. I kind of meant for this to happen, especially in the way that I read the scene out loud, so we're just going to have to see what you think about it, because I really want to know your opinion. This is totally different from my normal writing style and what I usually like to write, but I was given a premise and I just went with it. So I hope you're entertained. Not going to say hope you like it because it's quite weird, but hope you're entertained with the extreme places this scene goes. Narrator. Maurice has always been the compassionate introvert until one day he unleashes his wrath upon the world, or as some would like to call it, expressing himself. And he comes to a drastic conclusion. Starts off pacing behind his crawfish stand. Maurice. I've never been emotional. I've never openly expressed myself. I've only withdrawn inside the shell to emerge only to let a few people in. Yet, I don't know what to do. I've always had a plan. I've always known what I was going to do next, what the possible effects were of my actions. But I don't know. The world is crushing, a giant's fist crumbling the earth beneath him. I got a good education, married the love of my life, but I'm selling crawfish. Customer. Excuse me, sir, how much for a pound? Maurice. I can't be bothered with you right now, but I wanted to travel. I wanted to own my own boat, sail the 7 seas with my wife. But there's our neighbor to consider. I remember when I used to be the one to put light into her eyes. I remember when I used to be the one she would throw her head back unapologetically to laugh, to sneak smiles to in between what we should actually be doing. But I've been replaced. What am I to do? So long my introverted instincts have kept me who I am. And I don't like that person anymore. Dramatically flips over crawfish stand. Goodbye, crawfish. Slimy, sewer gray crawfish that I couldn't catch, that I had to purchase from another man who has his own boat. I was given the smallest, the weakest, the least juicy. But no more. I don't need to see the sights. All I need now is a simple life with my wife and a boat to go fishing on. But since I can no longer have that, I am going to kill myself. End of scene. I would love to know what you think. This is so random. You would think the next moment giant steampunk butterflies are gonna fall from the sky or something random like that. If you don't know what that reference is to, I'd advise watching my NaNoWriMo video right here. Tell me in the comments below what you thought about this episode in this now 9-week-long series. I'm really sorry that I didn't do one last week. There wasn't that much to talk about, especially because things were kind of mixed up more than usual, and our playwriting teacher wasn't there, so we had to go into either poetry or fiction for the day, and I didn't really want to share about that because it wasn't my best writing class for reasons that I will mention in a blog post. Did I teach you anything? Do you want to know more about playwriting? Do you want to know what we do in class? Do you want to know what kind of methods we do? I find it really interesting because unlike fiction and poetry, we get instant gratification and instant feedback for what our scenes are, because the moment it's being performed, we see the audience reactions live, and I find that extremely validating and also really scary at the same time. So it's a completely new medium. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a good time. Keep calm and read on. Goodbye. What are you doing?
I'm creeping very quiet.
Okay. Dynamics and I'm saying the wrong things because of you. Sorry, no offense.
Wow.
It's not you.
Why'd you
Which? What?
Sorry, go on.
What? Are you in the shot? I don't think you are.
What's it called?
I'm filming, if you didn't notice.
What's this called? Sure wasn't Moses.
Yeah, it's not Moses. What are you doing?
I want to see if I was in the shot.
Well, I have no idea where that came from.
Hey, Luna.
Can you get Luna out of my room?
No. She's too sweet.
Emma! I'm trying. Emma!
She just wants to give you kisses.
Emma!
Wait,
Please!
It's not my fault. It's her.
Get Luna out!
I'm gonna do that. I don't know how to.
She's your dog! Fish salesman named Maurice. Luna! Luna's making so much noise. 5. No, it's 6. Which was
I'm pretty sure you're just a sociopath. You get along pretty well.
Thanks.